The Renters' Rights Bill has dominated the conversation in UK property industry over the last few years, and now it's on the brink of being fully implemented. We've talked a lot about what this means for landlords and the private rented sector, and this episode is no different. I'm Tracy Hanbury, co-founder of the National Landlord Investment Show, and in this news-packed episode of UK Property News, we'll be joined by host Ian Collins and guest speaker Kate Faulkner OBE, a leading property analyst. Watch this episode for the latest updates on Renters' Rights Bill and how to prepare, plus hot topics in the UK property market, including changes to planning, updates to energy performance certificates, and a new consultation on home buying and selling. These are all crucial updates for landlords navigating the UK property market right now. UK Property News is powered by the National Landlord Investment Show. Make sure that you subscribe to this channel for the latest UK property news. Now, over to Ian Collins and our special guest, Kate Faulkner OBE.
Thank you, Tracy. Welcome to another, when I say exciting episode, each episode seems to build on the last one. We've got Kate Faulkner with us. Kate, I never know how to fully address you. You've got so many titles. There are even kind of like almost royalty, because you've got, what's that, an MBE you've got, isn't it?
Now, come on, Ian, it's OBE.
Oh, no. Did I? And I went for it. I thought, no, you've got the real one, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm way further down the alphabet.
Yeah. And no, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that at all. You've been in this industry a long, long time.
Steady.
There's very few, and I mean that kindly. There's very few elements of this that you're not across. But of course, the last couple of years, you and I have talked, I don't know how many, dozens of times on this issue and issues around it. What's happening with, the government have been there just over a year now. We know there's acceleration on renters' rights. Should we start there with any update that there might be?
Yeah, sure, we can do so. On renters' rights, literally Tuesday the 14th was the last update. So it is going ahead. There were some amendments that Lords had put forward, but as they have been for the last 6 months, they were all pretty much rejected, apart from one that went in from the government. Yep. And as a result of that, we're expecting royal assent will now be end of October, early November. And what they were not expecting everything or anything really to come in from day one, because the industry needs time and landlords need time. So I would say probably specialist experts like David Smith, Suzanne Smith, no relation, and various others are saying it'll be April, but I wouldn't be surprised if something came in January. So from my side, you have to know this now. There is no mucking about now. Get on if you don't know it. And of course, we've got the show coming up, which I'm really looking forward to in London on the 29th of October. So I will be there, and everything you need to know is at that show. So get yourself down, because you can ask your own questions, listen to other questions that people are asking. Because actually, that's where I've learnt most of my information about renters' rights, is not me asking questions or reading stuff. It's listening to other people's questions. And
I would actually echo that, because from a journalistic side, there's no better place to be than in the coalface of this debate. Old Billingsgate, 29th of October. And as you rightly allude to there, Kate, every player in this industry, every voice that matters, every bit of information that is as qualified as it can get will be at that show.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and there's nothing, as I say, there's nothing like hearing it. So this is a big change. Don't risk it. Come on down. It'd be lovely to see people. Love seeing people. Love listening to them and learning from them as well.
Indeed.
So,
and there's lots of panels, lots of kind of training as well, and all sorts of other things is going to be happening. I think this is going to be, absolutely. I know each show, you always think, well, this one is going to be covering more and it's going to have so much more to it. But I think, the one coming up on the 29th of October is going to be extra special for many reasons, not least that, as you say, this thing is now lurking literally. It's not just around the corner, it's nipping at the heels now, right?
Yeah. Well, we're almost, we're almost, the heels have been nipped.
Yeah, they've been nipped.
We're about to enter
The
Ankle has
ankles.
been nipped. Yeah, ankles have been nipped. We're going in now to the sort of one man and his dog. They're all in there.
Yeah,
We're all in the fence, and they're about to close the gates. How's
indeed.
that?
Indeed. And of course, Paul Champlina will be there again. We should mention that.
Ah, yeah, my best, our best
Unless
buddy.
unless you and Paul are at a show, then frankly you wonder what's going on.
Ugh, I don't normally blush.
But there are, as you rightly say, Suzanne Smith, David Smith is there. Um,
Yeah, you've got
Susie Crowler is there too. I mean,
yes, yeah,
everything you
yeah.
need to, so many panel sessions, so many training sessions, so many informed voices to speak to. So 29th of October, Old Billingsgate. Let us talk a lot about what's really important right now. I think we should start with planning, really, Kate, because I mean, that's clearly crucial to everything we're talking about.
Yeah, I think what there's so much in the press, and they're having such like, they just kind of seem to want to bring everything down, if you like, and
Yeah.
say nothing's happened to it. There is huge amounts happening on property, and I know the government's put out it's going to do 1.5 million homes, and they're going to build that, and everybody's going, that's not possible. I'm probably the only person left in the country who thinks, I think it is, and
Is
so
it
I
really?
thought.
Sorry to cut in, Kate, but do you think it is still possible to do that? Because we're over potentially a quarter of a way through this parliament. I don't know
We
how
are, but what
well
you've got
they're
to
doing
bear
so
in,
far.
yeah, you've got to bear in mind that you can't turn planning around in a year and suddenly build a ton of houses. It
True.
doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
They take time to build. So our biggest problem is not actually anything government to do anything. It's about getting the amount of workers and then getting the materials. Those are the two hardest issues,
Yeah.
which, to be fair, aren't necessarily the government issue. That's industry. But it is possible because there's lots of ways of building homes, and we don't do them in the right way. And a lot of people blame planning, but what they're doing. So I'm going to run through all the legals from kind of start to finish that are out there at the moment. Much of this is under consultation.
Yeah.
And landlords, when you sit in front of us, we did this at the panel at the last show. Oh, how do we influence government? You answer the consultations, and there are a ton of them. So go to .gov, put in the planning consultation, put in the too late for renters' rights, but put in the other consultations that I'm talking about, and put in your real life case studies,
Yeah.
and look to see if the stuff's going to solve it. Because if it isn't, tell them what your answers are, and then then it's on record, and that's really important. That is how you engage with government. So start with planning, because this is like, I'm just going to have to go la, 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 la,
Yeah,
so you
you
can
go for it, Kate.
watch it back. So there is a planning and infrastructure bill that is going through, and one thing everybody's saying, this government, it's not doing anything. They have approved the largest number of infrastructure. Forgive me if you look at my notes, but there is so much in here. Infrastructure projects in the first year of Parliament in history.
Wow.
21 major infrastructure
Is that
projects.
things like Gatwick and renewable energy projects, that kind of stuff?
I'm sitting back. Yeah, absolutely. Lower Thames Crossing. These things are critical for landlords and investors in particular to look at, because these are the things that can make and break your investment.
Yeah.
And they have just announced 12 new towns and their locations. And that's where he said, well, how are they going to do this? Well, you build new towns. That's where Milton Keynes and Telford came from. That's where Cambourne came from. And you're looking at Cherwell, Malcolm, East Devon, Adlington, Cheshire East. There's a whole list, and we'll do like an article on this. So if you sort of click below, then you'll be able to see all of the information that I'm putting out here.
Cool.
And then there's the general planning laws, which I think are just starting to take effect. So we're just starting to see the planning numbers turn. Big issue in London, but that's more of a cost one. Kind of nobody's fault to some extent that they've got to get through. So we're looking at faster planning decisions through a national scheme, mandatory commitment to training, reducing or reintroducing regional strategic planning, which they used to do in the past, which was actually very effective. I used to work on it up in the East Midlands, and it was very good. Compulsory purchase powers, really interesting. Accelerate approvals for major infrastructure. They've already proved they're doing that. And they're going to limit legal challenges. And this grey belt, I think, is a really clever word, because actually they're absolutely right. When people say green belt, you're talking about an awful lot of car parks. Well, don't know about you, Ian, but a car park is not green belt.
No.
And there are lots of things in the classed as green belt that are actually easy to build on and wouldn't detract from the fields, etc. So they're that's going through, and there's quite a lot of support for that bill from the industry, and they are listening to industry. Apart from renters, I would say, apart from the tenant renter side of things, I'm afraid. They have also put more money than we've seen before into affordable homes, and that is key. So of those 1.5 million, really, we need 1 million affordable homes, i.e., forget affordable, I'm talking social homes. 1.4 million households who are eligible for a social home, who are 1 million of whom are likely to be living in the private sector. That is putting pressure on the private sector that nobody seems to understand outside.
Yeah.
And the more social homes we build, the less pressure on the private sector, and the more properties go back into the private sector, which will help relieve the tensions, if you like. So that's kind of the planning side. Where do you want to go next?
Well, I mean, we've got the
Topic.
planning. We've got, in addition to all of that, of course, many other acts like the Leasehold Freehold Act, of course, is all
Let's
part
go
and
for that
parcel of
one.
this. I knew you'd know something about this. I just had to say the words, and you're off like a rocket. I know it's nearly fireworks night, but this is premature stuff, Kate.
Absolutely. Well, we'll deal with most of these in some way, shape, or form. So, Leasehold and Freehold Act.
This
This
has been a
is
mess for years, hasn't it, by the way?
It kind of has, but we have to accept we have homes that are 200 years old.
Yeah.
So we have laws that apply that are 200 years old. So, big thing to try and sort out. I do kind of sit back and have a bit of a giggle when people say, "Oh, we're going to get rid of all the leasehold, and we're going to do." It's like, and we're going to do it day one or day 100 or whatever. No, you're not. This is massive, massive legislation, and
Yeah.
you can't just switch off the freeholder leasehold relationship, which is why there is a challenge, I think, going through. Not that I think it will, I hope it won't get anywhere. But just kind of stand back and think about it. Eventually, in my mind, what this will do is all leaseholds will end up being 999-year leases. It might take 20, 30, 50 years, and zero ground rent. That's basically what we're heading for. And those are two of the things that have been massive issues in the past.
Yeah.
You can now, if you think your freeholder's rubbish, leaseholders can get together, and this has already been implemented, and they can decide to manage the property themselves. Not an easy thing to do, though, I have to say. And that right to manage has been expanded, so you don't have to have as many leaseholders as you did in the past going through. So very important as a landlord, if you've got properties, flats and leasehold properties, because there might be a house, to get together with the other leaseholders, watch what's going on with this and decide what you want to do, because it will have an impact. They are looking at ending ground rent, as we kind of spoke about it, ban on new leasehold houses. There is actually some good reason for them sometimes, but that's no harm. And you will get enhanced consumer protection, and that's all about the transparency. And particularly when buying and selling, we're actually doing a lot. That's where I come in with this. Is we're doing a lot of work to make sure that it's easier to buy and sell leasehold properties by having all the information up front. And we'll talk about that
And
in a little
value in
bit.
them is tricky as well, isn't it?
It is, especially when you're going to have some that will have an 85-year lease and others that have got a 999-year lease
Exactly.
with a zero
Exactly.
ground rate. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
tricky thing for our Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, who are typically the valuers. But it can be a good opportunity for investors.
Yeah.
But it's flawed with, it's like you're running through an obstacle course.
Sure.
And you can only do it if you have real experts by your side. But here's the thing. The average London flat hasn't increased in value for 8 years.
Wow.
8 years. Rents have gone up a lot. So think of your yield.
Yeah.
Think of the yield. Lots of new build flats available at this moment in time. It's a long game. It's a long game, and it's a specialist. You need an excellent surveyor, and you need an excellent conveyancing lawyer who really understands leasehold well, not somebody that does mostly divorce and dabbles in this.
Yeah.
But you've got to watch lack of the service charges, lack of control over maintenance, building safety, big thing, particularly in London. If remediation work is required, that's of course after the horrendous tragedies at Grenfell. But there may be some opportunity. And then on top of this, the government, and I did some work, a lot of work on this, are looking to introduce Commonhold. so that eventually all new flats that are built, or even leasehold flats, they're looking at converting to Commonhold, whereby this happens a lot abroad.
Yeah.
So all the owners of the flats, they all own the building, and you are in charge of your own destiny. Sounds great. I keep saying to the government, that's fantastic, but it also means you've got all the responsibility.
Yeah.
So on top of your day job, you have to go home and run a company
Yeah.
and a building company, and that's not an easy job. So that's that one. What would you like next?
Well, in terms of where this affects landlords and the areas of concern, I guess things like you've got the Renters' Rights Bill coming in. That's a definite. You've got
Yeah.
EPC rating deadlines as well
Oh,
too. That's
let's
a
stop
biggie.
you there. Let's go EPCs. Right. Very exciting stuff happening on EPCs. And you might not expect somebody to say that, but they are. There's lots of criticism of EPCs. And often the criticism is because people don't quite understand or misinterpret what they are for. So when EPCs were created, they were given a specific, this is what they should do. And then I think everybody interpreted it. It's going to do it is about energy efficiency, etc. But it's about measuring everything from a carbon perspective. And I'm no expert, so I'm not going to carry on with giving you all the details on that.
Yep.
Catch me at the show if you want to know more. However, they're looking at now new minimum EPC rating of C, 230. Shouldn't be a shock to landlords. We've been talking about it for 7 years,
Sure.
just nothing happened. So don't be surprised. And 2028 is when they think all new tenancies will have to reach it, 2034 existing tenancies. And the overall EPC rating has changed now, which means that you should double check as a landlord what your EPC rating is. And if you've got things like, I just picked up some of this. So depending on what type of heating, so if you're electric heating, you've got heat pumps, etc., or even the lighting, you will get better graded. If you've got gas, you might get worse graded. So it's probably a good time to have a little look at you should know what your EPC is now, but you should know what it is under the new rules.
And is it, Kate, is there now more of a science to this? Because it wasn't that long ago when you'd call a fella from the council, he'd turn up with a clipboard and go, oh, it's a bit drafty in here. We'll give you an F. There was no real science to it. It wasn't really a qualified job as such. It was all, and then you could speak to somebody who lived down the road, identical circumstances, they got a different rating. Have they streamlined this now so that there's a little bit of fairness attached to it?
So to be fair, that was attached. So they were trained. You had to be an assessor. You had to have the training to go and do an EPC. But that was some time ago, and things have changed. They were introduced over for an awful long time ago. So things have changed. We've got better data. We understand better. I mean, just to give you an example, we were all told to go out and buy diesel cars, and then suddenly the research told us, "Oops, we made a mistake." Government took the hit on that apparently because it was their fault. The researchers had made a mistake and given bad advice to everybody.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like that. So what we're seeing now is an upgraded version of it because technology's improved. Our understanding of energy efficiency has improved and how to measure it. And also we've got new stuff coming out like the heat pumps, etc. More properties going electric and stuff like that. So you only know you've made there's errors and flaws once you've run a system for a little while. So long answer to your question, but yes, it's a better and fairer system from an energy efficiency perspective. And if you spent money on that, it'll be more reflected. Let's put it that way.
There are, I know these are anecdotal stories, but I know we've spoken to landlords before who've said, look, I thought I'd done the whole thing. I lagged the loft, I put the cavity wall stuff in, double glazing all over the place, under the floorboards, padded it out. Unbelievable. All the light bulbs went to the energy saving, everything. And then somebody comes around, nothing changed. And you think, well, really?
Yeah.
How does that happen? They just spent 10 grand and nothing changed.
Yeah. And that's where I think this should impact positively. So I think that's been heard. And I think that's some of the stuff that they have looked at.
Yeah.
And then I'd say, last but by no means least, mainly because I've been a bit selfish here because I've been heavily involved in this. But there is a huge consultation which has just been launched about how you buy and sell a home.
Yep.
So critical to landlords for the future. And we really need your help because you are almost professional buyers and sellers. Whether you've done one or two, whatever, most people will only sell 3 or 4 homes in their properties and buy 3 or 4 homes.
Sure.
But you're probably out there, and particularly those of you that are prolific, you're flipping properties, whatever it is. We've worked for the last 7 years under the Home Buying Selling Council, trying to come up with what's all the problems with buying and selling. Why does it take so long? Why is it such a frustrating process? A lot of the blame has been labelled at conveyancers. Some of them aren't very good, but do you know what? That happens in any industry.
Of course.
The problem is when you're in a chain, if you've got 2 people that buy and sell really well, but one that doesn't, or has a poor professional involved, it means everybody gets a bad experience.
Yep.
And that's the thing that's a little bit different about what we do. So some things, so there's been a big identification of what causes the key problems. We're doing things like, and this is well on the way. So although it's a consultation, people go, oh, it'll take years. Actually, a lot of it's already happening.
Yep.
What the government wants is buyers and sellers to tell them what their thoughts are on these ideas. And we also want other professionals. So we've really engaged with everybody from start to finish. And I'd love landlords to be a big part of this because, as I say, you've got a lot of expertise.
Sure.
And we're looking at not just one thing. That's been a mistake in the past. So everybody comes back and says, oh, it's just hips and it's just rehashed and blah, blah. Not that I'm fed up with having that chucked at me. And it's like, but you couldn't change one thing.
Yep.
And it wasn't introduced in the right way. And we didn't consult enough people.
Right.
And it wasn't looked at how it would work on the ground. And the quality wasn't as good as it should be. But also, you have to change everything from consumer education. So how buyers and sellers buy, because we're not doing it in the right way, actually. You shouldn't just go and look for a property on Rightmove and go and visit it. If you're selling that property, you should get your legals done up front. I do it. It shaves at least 2 months off a purchase or sale. And then the other thing is, particularly if you're a first time buyer, don't even look at a property until you've been to see a broker.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. And then moving day, we've got to get everybody moved by 1 o'clock, and people don't start packing a van till 10. Or they don't check the money's in place. So there's lots you can do now already.
Sure.
So we've got consumer education. We're looking at the government's asked in the proposal about regulation of agents. Please support that. It is mad that you can be an agent with 0 qualifications. Please help me to stop that. It's got to stop. We're going to looking at mandating information up front. And the reason that has been mandated is because every single property doesn't do it. It doesn't work.
Of course.
The system stays the same because of chains. And we're also looking at logbooks. So just like you have on a car, we're looking at having a logbook for a house. What a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
Why didn't we do it before? And you might say, oh, it's going to take ages to do. The logbooks are already here. Developers have been using them for ages. We've already developed them, and they've been developed for rentals as well. So, not being unkind, but if you're a landlord and you pop your clogs tomorrow, how's your family, friends going to pick up that property? Well, without a property logbook, you might have done your will, but if you haven't done a logbook, they're in the dark.
Yeah.
And they're going to find it very difficult to sell, particularly under the new rules. Looking at increasing education, streamlining transactions. One of the nightmares for the industry. A lot of the problems with home moving services aren't their fault. It's what they have dumped on them. So, lender, broker, agent, conveyancing lawyer, they all have to check your ID individually.
Sure.
And do huge checks, which is ridiculous. So that's been looking at streamline to give you feedback on that. And then, if you remember some years ago, took 3 days to transfer money from a bank, and it was a nightmare. And you have checks and all this kind of stuff. They did this thing called open banking. The reason they could do that is effectively they digitized the money information going from A to B. And we are doing the same with property data. And we are about that close to creating the building blocks so that all that data will be digitized. So literally at a press of a button, you'll be able to know everything about a property. More people that use logbooks, or if they're mandated, that information will be available. All of this is all relevant to landlords.
Of
So
course.
get involved. There's some massive opportunities here for the future. But you've got to know about this stuff
Yeah.
to really take advantage of that. So I can't believe there isn't at least 3 or 4 things to take away from this. And as I say, I'll be at the show on the 29th. So, you want to chat to anything about this. If you want to complain about the Renters' Rights Act, too late.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Way too late on that front.
And it's the one area that we've struggled when we've engaged, but all these other areas we haven't.
Yeah.
So government's really been listening. Its ears are open. So don't, because of the experience you've had on Renters' Rights Act, don't let that stop you from consulting on all of these other things because they're really important.
100%. There's links here where people can look at and check out the wider issues you've been discussing, Kate. But as you say, 29th of October, it is an ensemble of the greatest voices literally in the land on this industry. So if you're a landlord, this is an area you're interested in getting into. You want information, whether it's about tax, whether it's about building, whether it's about efficiency of homes, anything at all, and all the areas we've been talking about. There's probably going to be a queue just to speak to you, Kate, after this, because there's a lot of
Well, last
pretty
time
good
there was,
information.
I got there and I thought I'd gone to the wrong place because the people were queuing around the building to get in.
That's because they knew you were there.
I don't think I do.
This is how Taylor Swift feels every day.
Yeah, not quite there.
Well, I don't know.
And you certainly won't want me singing.
Well, we'll find out. Kate, we'll see you on the 29th. Old Billingsgate. Get online to check out details of how you can come along to that, and we'll speak then.
Great. Look forward to it.
Cheers, Kate.